Today we acknowledge the sins of our past. We regret the stain of racism that allowed so callous of a decision as the one that led to families being dragged from their homes, creating a diaspora of the African American community in the city of St. Paul. Today we ask for forgiveness from those who lived through those days when our community was at its worst, and for those who continue to rebuild the shattered pieces of Rondo. And we pledge to work to build a permanent commemoration of Rondo, not just in this plaza that we construct on this ground that we stand on. Rather, it will be in a community that erases the stain of racism, which creates equality for all, and builds from the remnants of Rondo the city that we all hope St. Paul to be. Today, as mayor of St. Paul, I apologize on behalf of the city to all who called Rondo home for the acts and decisions that destroyed this once vibrant community. And I pledge the full faith and efforts of our city to not rest until we are a community where all, as Roy Wilkins described Rondo, have a place where we feel at home. I'd like to read a proclamation. Whereas the Rondo neighborhood was once a thriving area that was home to a large African American community as well as other races and ethnicities. Whereas the Rondo neighborhood abounded with social, religious, commercial, and other enterprises of the African American community. Whereas in the 1960s, the Federal Highway Administration undertook to route the new Interstate 94 through the heart of the Rondo neighborhood with the consent of the state and city officials. Whereas 600 families and numerous businesses were displaced, with households moved to new and unfamiliar neighborhoods and businesses lost due to the insufficient capital to start up in new locations. Whereas the physical home of the African American community was destroyed and the spirits of the people were tried as a sense of place and belonging was forever altered. Whereas we now know that the displacement of the Rondo community was an unprecedented act of institutional and structural racism. Now therefore, I, Christopher Coleman, Mayor of St. Paul, do offer this symbolic and heartfelt apology on behalf of the city of St. Paul, and do proclaim that as long as I am mayor of the city of St. Paul, and I will guarantee you my successors, will be vigilant and will hold government responsible for ensuring that such flagrant acts of structural racism will not happen again. And I declare July 15th, 2015 to be Rondo Remembrance, Reconciliation, and Restoration Day in the city of St. Paul. Thank you.
50 years ago, I was taking a school bus through Rondo. I will confess, I didn't really appreciate. And that was maybe indicative of many who didn't. And it's time for that to stop. An era when the Minnesota Highway Department builds an interstate through the heart of the Rondo community. We could never build that kind of atrocity today. A time when building of freeways considered cars over a value of a community. We valued cars and concrete over people. It was wrong. And I acknowledge that that loss is felt deeply today, and it continues. As the head of that same agency, and there's not been that many heads and commissioners of that agency, I look at them on the wall as I walk in. On behalf of that agency, I apologize. Thank you. You know, I stand before you today on behalf of the state and the many people of the Department of Transportation, many who are actually here today, to actually commit to a new era where we do put people ahead of highways and community ahead of cars. This freeway, the one we're hearing here, it's old. And we need a better road going forward. We know that we need to look at how we work with roads in a different context. We know that we are even today starting planning for what are we going to do we reconstruct this road? How do we plan for it? And we know we have to do it differently. We cannot do it alone. We can't do it just with engineers. We have to do this where we value the communities and we value you. And to keep it brief, I know that in the next few years, we're going to figure that out. But my commitment is that we will figure that out with you. Because we know whether it's cars, buses, banners, sails, all modes, transportation is what connects us all to each other. And it is about building those connections, not the barriers. That is what it's all about. So thank you so very much.